What if I told you, the more you try to control, the more controlled you become? What if the real battle wasn't to fix the world, but to silence the part of you that needs it to obey? And what if everything you're holding on to is exactly what's suffocating your power? Detach. Not later. Not when it's easy. Now. Because what you don't detach from will enslave you. What you don't release will command your reactions. And what you still chase already owns you. This is not motivation. This is mental recalibration. Welcome to modern Stoicism, where weakness gets no sympathy and clarity is bought with emotional death. Here, we don't tell you to feel better. We train you to feel nothing when nothing deserves your emotion. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." We don't just quote it here, we live it. We install it like code, and we build minds that are unreadable, untouchable, and unshakable. So if you're ready to train instead of react, stay. Let's begin. Section 1. The lie you live in. What if the only reason you're suffering is because you're still trying to control what was never yours? You grip tight to outcomes, to people, to their opinions. You grip so hard your mind bleeds, and you call it responsibility. But it's not strength. It's slavery. You weren't designed to control the world, only yourself. And yet every time you react, you forget that. Every time you try to make someone respect you, love you, understand you, you lose a piece of your edge. Every time you demand the world to be fair, you fracture your focus. Every time you chase closure, you hand over your frame. Understand this. The more energy you give to what you cannot control, the more chaos will own your mind. The Stoics knew this. They didn't fight waves, they mastered the surf. They didn't scream at the storm, they reinforced the walls. Because the storm was never the enemy. Reacting to it was. Start building detachment right now. Don't speak when they provoke. Don't chase when they leave. Don't beg life to be kind. Watch it all. Say nothing. Stay calm. Stay cold. Detachment isn't weakness, it's warfare. It's how you stop bleeding energy into black holes. Because here's the truth. The world won't ever give you control. But it will give you distractions. It will beg you to argue, to fix, to please, to chase. And every time you do, you step out of power. So, withdraw. Reclaim your emotional sovereignty. Stop reacting to what was never part of your mission. Detach like a warrior. Move like a ghost. I observe. I detach. I cut. I wait. I dominate. I own my mind. Comment. I don't grip. I command my peace. Like if you're ready to stop reacting, subscribe to modern Stoicism and train your mind to lead while others beg. Section 2. Emotion. The old master you must kill. What if every emotional reaction you have is actually obedience to something beneath you? You think you're feeling, but in reality, you're following. You're following pain, ego, memory, fear, and worse. You're obeying the invisible hand of chaos. Anger rises, and you speak. Disappointment hits, and you collapse. Someone mocks you, and suddenly you're explaining, defending, proving. Why? Because you were never taught to be still. You were trained to react. That's not power, that's programming. And if your mind is still reacting to everything outside of it, then you are not a master, you are still a slave. The Stoics weren't cold by accident. They were cold because clarity demands stillness, and stillness demands detachment. Marcus Aurelius didn't rise by emotion. He rose by observing it, then overriding it. So how do you begin to break the leash? You stop giving energy to noise. Start here. Someone offends you. Say nothing. Observe their weakness. Someone leaves you. Let them. Watch what returns. A plan fails. Reset in silence. Adapt. The world screams. You sit, you breathe, you become unreadable. Unreadable minds rule emotional ones. They ask, why aren't you reacting? Because you've killed the part of you that needs to. Emotional detachment is not numbness, it is precision. You feel, but you no longer obey. You're not cold because you're broken. You're cold because you're building. Because you're dangerous now. Because every move is calculated. Every silence is loaded. Because you've stopped reacting and started responding. And that terrifies people. Because a man who controls his emotions cannot be manipulated. He can't be guilted. He can't be lured. He can't be broken. He's a fortress. He is fire behind stone. This is your new identity. I don't react, I don't chase, I don't beg, I don't explain. I observe, I detach, I cut, I wait, I dominate, I own my mind. Make it law. Repeat it daily. Because until you conquer your own emotional reflexes, the world will conquer you without lifting a hand. Comment, my silence is my weapon. Like if you're done living on emotional autopilot, subscribe to modern Stoicism, where the war for mental dominance never stops. Section 3. Silence, the sharpest weapon you never used. What if silence wasn't weakness, but a loaded weapon only the disciplined can hold? They want your voice, your reaction, your attention. Because the moment you explain, you give power. The moment you defend, you shrink your frame. The moment you reply, you step into their narrative. But when you say nothing, you flip the entire board. Silence is dominance. It forces others to project, to guess, to overthink. They interpret your stillness as strategy, and that's exactly what it is. In a world screaming for attention, silence isn't passive. It's tactical detachment. Strategic silence is how you conserve energy. It's how you gain clarity. It's how you remind the world you don't owe it anything. The Stoics didn't need noise. They ruled from inner command. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Most waste their energy reacting. You conserve yours by being unreadable. Try this. When someone disrespects you, say nothing. Let your absence echo louder than your defense. When chaos surrounds you, be the calm shadow in the room. When life pushes, don't push back. Step aside, let it collapse on its own. The man who doesn't speak when expected holds psychological ground. He is not confused, he is calculating. You want real power. Become unreadable. Let people wonder, let them obsess, let them assume. You owe no one your explanation, only your evolution. Because silence isn't the absence of noise, it's the presence of control. I observe, I detach, I say nothing, I move silently, I control every frame, I own my mind. Comment, my silence speaks louder than my defense. Like this video if you've felt power in saying nothing. Subscribe to modern Stoicism and become the calm the world can't figure out. Section 4. Cut the rope or hang from it. What if the people you're holding on to are the very ones keeping you weak? You call it loyalty. You call it love. You call it, they need me. But the truth is darker. You're afraid of being alone with your own mind. You don't hold on to them. They hold power over you through your emotions. And if someone can change your mood, dictate your decisions, or break your focus, they own you. Detach. Not with hate, with clarity. Some people exist only to delay you, to test your reaction, to feed off your energy. Let them go. This isn't cruelty, it's elevation. The Stoics walked alone not because they hated others, but because they refused to be dependent on them. Understand this. You can't build an empire while handcuffed to approval. You can't rise if you're always checking who's still clapping. Stop seeking understanding. Stop needing closure. Stop expecting support. Some people will never see your vision, and they're not supposed to. Your mission is not to convince the blind. It's to keep walking toward the fire that only you can see. So, from this point forward, stop explaining, stop chasing, stop holding space for those who drain it. Stop softening your edges for people who fear sharpness. You want mental dominance? Then cut the rope or hang from it. You weren't born to beg, you weren't built to break. And you're not here to carry what refuses to move on its own. I observe, I detach, I cut, I ascend, I lead alone, I own my mind. Comment, I walk alone. I carry no weight but my own. Like this, if you've ever had to outgrow who you used to love. Subscribe to Modern Stoicism, where detachment is not weakness, it's clarity, sharpened to the bone. Section 5. Kill the need to be understood. What if your greatest emotional prison is the need to be understood by people who were never built to see you? You explain, you defend, you overshare, you try to make them see, but every time you seek validation, you sign over your power. You become a puppet to someone else's perception, and now they don't even have to pull the strings, you move for them. Understand this, approval is control. If they can give it, they can take it. If you crave it, they can withhold it, and if you depend on it, you're finished. You can't be free and addicted to being liked at the same time. The Stoic doesn't need to be understood, because his understanding of himself is already complete. He doesn't explain his silence. He doesn't justify his sharpness. He doesn't dilute his truth to be more palatable. You want power? Start training in solitude. Do the work without announcing it. Build in silence. Let them misunderstand you. It's part of the strategy. Because once you're immune to opinion, you're untouchable. When your identity is no longer up for debate, you rise. Not louder, deeper. This week, practice surgical indifference. Don't respond to praise. Don't flinch at criticism. Don't rush to clarify. Say less. Do more. Let mystery be your armor. Because the man who can walk through misunderstanding without breaking is the man no one can touch. I observe. I detach. I don't need to be seen. I build without applause. I own my mind. Comment. I am no longer seeking to be understood. I seek only control over myself. Like this, if you've felt the power of walking alone without explaining. Subscribe to Modern Stoicism, where validation dies and self-mastery begins. Section 6. Don't react. Reign. What if every reaction you give builds a cage you don't even see? Someone insults you, and you snap. A situation turns, and you panic. A comment pokes your ego, and suddenly you need to reply. Why? Because you've been trained to react, not to rule. The world doesn't test you by what happens. It tests you by what you hand over emotionally. And when you react, you give away your center. You leak control. You surrender the throne of your mind to the next trigger. That's not power. That's puppetry. The Stoic knows the real power isn't silence. It's restraint. Every time you don't react, you gain strength. Because the mind that pauses wins. The insult bounces, the chaos fades. The drama dies in the silence you refuse to break. Train this daily. When something frustrates you, don't move. Let the discomfort sharpen you. When they expect you to retaliate, disappoint them with stillness. When things fall apart, keep your breath, keep your vision, stay seated in command. A mind that can pause is a mind that can plan. A man who doesn't react is a man who can't be predicted, and unpredictability is dominance. The enemy can't beat what he can't read, and he can't read what doesn't flinch. You are not here to react. You are here to rule. Build the pause. Stretch the space between impulse and action. That's where mastery lives. I observe, I pause, I withhold, I reposition, I strike with purpose. I own my mind. Comment, I no longer react. I watch, I wait, I win. Like if your silence has ever shattered louder than words. Subscribe to modern Stoicism, where reaction ends and reign begins. Section 7. Prepare for everything. Expect nothing. What if hope was the very emotion sabotaging your clarity? You keep hoping that they'll change, that life will be fair, that people will rise with you. But every time you hope, you wait. And every time you wait, you give time to things outside your control. The Stoic doesn't hope. He prepares, because hope is passive. Preparation is active. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about getting lucky. He wrote about being ready, ready to suffer, ready to adapt, ready to conquer. You want to detach? Then kill the belief that life owes you ease. You don't rise by expecting smooth roads. You rise by building mental armor for chaos. Here's how. Prepare to be misunderstood. Still speak your truth. Prepare to be betrayed. Still trust yourself. Prepare for plans to collapse. Still move forward. Prepare to lose. Still play to win. Most people don't fail because they're unworthy. They fail because their minds can't handle turbulence. A delayed flight ruins their day. A missed text spirals them into doubt. A rejection erases their identity. Why? Because they never prepared their mind for impact. They built a fragile self-image held up by hope instead of steel discipline. You want elite control, then build mental scenarios before they arrive. What if they ghost you? You move. What if the deal breaks? You build again. What if no one supports you? You support yourself louder. What if everything burns? You walk through the ash with a straight back. That's not pessimism. That's mental supremacy. Because when the storm comes, the Stoic doesn't flinch. He nods. He breathes. He executes. And the world watches in disbelief. No fear, no hope, just preparation. I don't wish. I train. I don't wait. I building. I don't hope. I prepare. I own my mind. Comment, I prepare for everything. I expect nothing. Like this video if you've learned to move without applause. Subscribe to modern Stoicism, where the mind is sharpened and hope is replaced with readiness. Section 8. Withdraw to win. What if your greatest move was to disappear when they expected you to react? Power isn't always in presence. Sometimes it's in absence, in silence, in retreat, in the weapon of no response. You've been taught to engage, to explain, to correct, to stay visible. But here's the truth they won't teach you. When you withdraw your energy, your attention, your presence, you create psychological scarcity. And scarcity is power. The more available you are, the more they take you for granted. The more you respond, the more predictable you become. The more you chase, the less they value. But the moment you disappear, the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, your absence screams. Suddenly they wonder. Suddenly they feel the space you used to fill. The Stoic doesn't overplay. He doesn't overexpose. He appears only when it's strategic. And when he vanishes, the silence is louder than noise. Use this today. When someone disrespects you, don't argue. Leave. When the energy is chaotic, exit without warning. When your presence isn't appreciated, remove it. When they don't value your peace, gift them your absence. This isn't avoidance. It's control. Because true power isn't proven in confrontation. It's mastered in withdrawal. The man who can disappear without needing to explain himself owns the room the moment he walks back in. Absence creates intrigue. It resets the frame. It removes your energy from the battlefield so you can return when it matters most. The world doesn't need more loud warriors. It needs more silent tacticians. Disappear, regroup, return with direction, or never return at all. Because what you don't feed dies, and what you stop chasing starts to follow. I appear with purpose. I vanish with reason. I control the frame. I own my energy. I own my mind. Comment: I disappear to protect my power. Like this video if you felt the strength of walking away. Subscribe to Modern Stoicism, where withdrawal isn't weakness, it's the highest form of control. Section 9. Stand alone and strengthen the core. What if needing others is the last weakness holding you back from total power? They told you life is about connection, about belonging, about leaning on others, but what they didn't say is that every time you lean, you weaken your spine. Dependency kills dominance, because the one who can't be alone will always be controlled by those who pretend to stay. The Stoic walks alone, not because he hates people, but because he trusts himself more than he trusts comfort. He doesn't look over his shoulder. He doesn't beg to be followed. He doesn't ask for handouts or healing. He builds alone, and that's why his foundation doesn't crack. Ask yourself, if they all left, could you still rise? If no one clapped, could you still build? If the world misunderstood you, would your mission stay intact? If the answer is no, then your power is borrowed, not built. You were not born to depend. You were not made to chase community. You were forged to become so full internally that even silence feels like company. And here's the truth. The less you need, the more you attract. The more you detach, the more magnetic you become. Because now, your worth isn't up for debate. It radiates, without explanation, without negotiation. This is psychological independence. You make decisions without permission. You move without applause. You rest without guilt. You build without witnesses. And when the storms come, as they always do, you don't look for shelter. You are the shelter. This is the frame of the untouchable. I walk alone. I decide alone. I win alone. And I lose only to grow, not to retreat. You want peace? Earn it through fire. You want control? Cut every invisible leash, every emotional tie that demands you to be less than what you are. I don't follow. I don't lean. I don't need. I stand alone. I build in silence. I own my mind. Comment: I don't need company to conquer. Like this if solitude made you stronger. Subscribe to Modern Stoicism, where isolation is not emptiness, it's evolution. Section 10. The final code. Burn the old you. What if the only thing standing between you and your power is the identity you've been too afraid to kill? You've heard every word. You've been rewired with stillness, silence, restraint. But here's the last gate. Detachment from your past self. The version of you that chased approval. That reacted emotionally. That explained too much. That waited for someone to understand. That version, it dies now. Because here's the truth. You can't bring the old you into the new level you crave. He's a liability. He's loud, soft, needy. He flinches at silence. He bleeds at criticism. He begs for love and drowns when he's alone. Kill him, not out of hate, but out of clarity. You are building someone different now. Someone cold, not cruel. Silent, not weak. Detached, not numb. Unshakable, not arrogant. The final stage of mental warfare is not learning more. It's unlearning who you were trained to be. And from this point forward, you live by code, not emotion. Here's your installation. I observe. I do not absorb. I detach. I do not chase. I cut. I do not explain. I wait. I do not react. I move. I do not ask. I own. I do not owe. I own my mind. Repeat it daily. When you wake up, install. Before conflict, Install. When emotions pull, install. When silence surrounds you, own it. Because now, you're not just a man, you're a weapon. You're no longer moved by noise. You create silence that commands attention. This is the level no one reaches because it requires identity death. But you've been cut open and rebuilt. This is the end of needing. This is the end of reacting. This is the death of softness. This is where the mind becomes king. So take this silence, take this detachment, take this total withdrawal from everything you can't control, and use it. Use it to build, to plan, to observe, to strike, to dominate. Because from this day forward, nothing outside of you can own you. You own your breath. You own your thoughts. You own your reactions. You own your mind. Comment, the old me is gone. I lead now. Like if this speech activated something cold, sharp, and new inside you. Subscribe to Modern Stoicism, where we don't motivate minds, we reprogram them.